A Fox News Opinion Dynamics poll has found that 65% of those surveyed said they'd vote for a Democratic congressional candidate simply because they want to see some change in Washington.
So how are Republicans going to respond to this? Joining us now from Jacksonville, over on Florida's East Coast, Congresswoman Katherine Harris. Good to see you, Congresswoman, this morning. So
great, it's wonderful to be back with you.
What are we to make of these latest polls that suggest that Democrats are going to take over the House and possibly the Senate?
I believe that the American people, and especially Floridians, care about an agenda for economic prosperity and making certain that we can defend ourselves against the terrorists that are threatening us, making also certain that we're not creating a program of amnesty for tens of millions of illegals. So when my message versus the senator's message get placed side by side, we've had an overwhelming support as we travel throughout the state.
Let me ask you for a moment, Katherine, about the story we were just talking about, how Harry Reid apparently used $3,300 to tip the guys at the front door at the Ritz-Carlton where he lives in Washington, D.C. He says, it's not really an ethics problem, and I'm going to give the money back. And then you dovetail that with apparently he made $1.1 million for property that he didn't own for 3 years. Does it look to you as if some high-ranking Democrats have some corruption problems or some ethics problems, perhaps?
The most important thing we can do for the political process is to have transparency so that the American people can truly see what's going on in D.C., not only in our personal finances, but in those things we do in terms of legislation and asking for appropriations. In Florida, we have the strongest sunshine laws in the country, so that everything we do is a matter of public record, and I prefer that because we're there as representatives, as servants, as you will, to the people, our constituencies back home. And I think that it's high time that we were reminded of that and operate that way in Washington.
You know, Katherine, for the last couple of weeks, the president has not talked a lot about the war in Iraq. For a while, he was giving a series of speeches talking about how important it was to fight this war on terror. Do you think that that's been a good move for the president to not talk about it so close to the election now, or should he keep talking war on terror?
Clearly, I think the most important thing our troops have done for us is to make certain that we have captured and killed 3/4 of the al-Qaeda leadership. They're not at home in our neighborhoods. Mohammed Atta is training to fly planes into buildings, not to land them just a few miles away from our home. So clearly our troops have done a remarkable job. But Ahmadinejad is really of grave concern when he says that he wants to threaten the Western civilization, if you will, and eliminate Israel. We must be ever vigilant on our efforts in the Middle East to make certain that we're not only establishing those democracies there and protecting Israel, but also making certain that we're safe back home.
All right. Well, back home here in Florida, Florida Congresswoman Katherine Harris, who is running for Senate. Katherine, we thank you very much for joining us today from the other side of the state. Thank you. All right.